Rise in freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com on the 4 Liberty Network. How's everybody doing today? Feeling good? Glad to hear it. It's August. Boy, it's the dog days of summer too, man. I think it was like 95 degrees here yesterday in central Missouri. How's it wherever you're at out there? Can you imagine what it must be like being in like Arizona or some of these other places out in the Southwest or Texas? What is it like down in Texas right now? I have to admit, I don't follow the temperature in other places in the country. I don't work in like the straight news business anymore. I used to when I was on the radio here all around the country, how the weather was going. But if you are in an area where it's hotter than 95 degrees, let us know. What's the temperature? Drop your comment down in the chat. Love to hear about how hot it is out where you're at. It's 95 degrees, but this is also Missouri. So the humidity is like you go outside and it just punches you in the face. If you like saunas, then you would like Missouri's humidity. If you're not into saunas, probably best to stay away from Missouri in August. Hotter than a summer day. Speaking of hot, Donald Trump's appearance at the National Association for Black Journalists yesterday was, oh my God. Oh my God. The response, though, yesterday, I think the Democrats felt like it was an own, but they really did get their asses handed to them in a high hat. It was smoking. I've got a billion clips to play, and we're going to go through many of the questions that Donald Trump answered. We're going to react to them. The first hour of this show is mostly going to be reaction. I tried to get my buddy John Doyle from the show Heck Off Commie. He does a podcast called Heck Off Commie. And he is, I guess, still in college. He's a young guy. So he had like economics homework last night. So he couldn't make it. It's too early for the college kids, apparently. I think I slept into like 9 a.m. in college sometimes too. So I get it. So I couldn't get John Doyle today, but hopefully we'll have him another time. So the first hour of the program today is going to just be mostly reaction videos from Trump's appearance at the National Association for Black Journalists. He walked into the lion's den and just stood straight up. The man has the biggest balls, maybe the second biggest balls in the universe. First biggest balls of the universe would be the guys who climbed Mount Suribachi on Iwo Jima in the initial invasion during World War II in 1945 then. So those guys have the number one biggest balls. But number two, maybe the Navy SEALs who went and killed bin Laden. But number 3, maybe Teddy Roosevelt charging up San Juan Hill with the Krag Jorgensen rifles. But number 4, definitely Donald Trump, right? Walking into the NABJ. I was really excited to see that over on Rumble that my live stream from 17 days ago, the one that I did the day after Donald Trump was nearly assassinated, or I guess that Monday, just crossed 100,000 views over on rumble.com. So a little pat on the back. Thank you. It's a new record. Love to see it. Thank you to all of our friends over on Rumble who have helped us support the Wake Up America show in its growth phase because we are really breaking stride and we're launching 2 brand new shows coming this fall. We're no longer just the Wake Up America show. It's now the 4 Liberty Network. I was talking to a couple of the guys last night, and I was getting so excited looking at all of the stuff that we're building for their brand new show that's going to be coming this fall. I mean, it's going to be wonderful, and I'm really thankful to people like Joni Rankin and Courtney Conover and Quest Vanning and Camellia and Frickety, Fred Siegel, all of our friends out there who, especially Andy Opperman and so many others who have contributed to help us to build this network. And of course, our sponsors like Preserve Gold as well, because it's just so much exciting things happening behind the scenes, putting together 2 brand new shows for you guys. I know you're going to love them. And who knows, maybe even 2 more shows after that. I am working, trying to get a couple more people on board so that we can actually build out a real strong network of shows to compete with the big guys out there. Libertarians deserve to have a network that isn't kind of like, fake and gay. I mean, it's okay to be gay, but, not in the bad way, in the good way. Michael Malice went on Joe Rogan and described Kamala Harris, the situation of how they went from zero. The Democrats went from disliking Kamala Harris to suddenly she is the savior of the Democratic Party. And his description of Kamala Harris as a wine mom or maybe a wine aunt, I can't remember the terminology, is spot on, brilliant, and hilarious. So I've got that video as well. So we'll play that in this hour. And after we get through all of the Trump clips and reactions to Donald Trump's interviews at the National Association of Black Journalists, can I just say NABJA? Can I just please say NABJA? Yeah. I'm going to say NABJA. All right. Thank you. NABJA yesterday. Then we'll play the Joe Rogan, Michael Malice clip, and we'll respond to that. And that'll be a fun first hour of the show to get started, right? Then at 8 o'clock, it's Thirsty Thursday. So what we're going to do, what we're going to do when they come for you. We're going to talk to...
Do not come.
Excuse me?
Do not come.
I'm going to come.
Okay. Okay, we're going to speak to... that end at the end, that at the end that Trump does is just classic. Makes me laugh so hard. Like, not like that. Not like that. Back demon. We're going to speak to Camelia Peterson at 8 o'clock yesterday. So my white dudes for Donald Trump shirt has got him triggered. Shiver me triggers. After the white dudes for Kamala fundraiser that Democrats did last week, I thought it would be funny as just a little bit of a troll, if you will, a little bit of a gag, to put together a nice little white dudes for Donald Trump shirt. And thank you. I thought it was funny. Did we make some sales? Yes. Was the trolling hilarious? Yes. Are the Democrats freaking out and saying, you're racist for putting together a group of white dudes for Donald Trump? Well, wait a minute. We're not allowed to have a white dudes for Donald Trump, so we can do white dudes for Kamala Harris, but if white dudes organize for Donald Trump, then it's racist. I noticed that it's okay for the white dudes to organize against black conservatives. So when it's Clarence Thomas, then the KKK can come out, the tiki torches are lit, and the Democrats start marching in their hoods and robes, and the white dudes come out against whenever it's black conservatives like Clarence Thomas or Tim Scott or Byron Donalds, then it's a problem. Then the white dudes can gather in their masses. But when white dudes come out for Donald Trump, then it's just no. Then it's Greta Thunberg time.
How dare you?
So anyway, the responses and reactions to white dudes for Donald Trump shirt yesterday were hilarious, and we will react to them. Did we make some sales of them? Yes. I'm actually kind of curious to see what it's going to be like when people show up at family gatherings with a white dudes for Donald Trump. Just don't go to the neighborhood barbecue wearing that shirt. I think, violence might be done to you, unfortunately, because, we live in a society. And taxation is the price that we pay to live in that civilized society, right? Right?
No! God!
Okay, well, shut up.
No, God, please, no!
So we'll speak to Camelia Peterson about white dudes for Donald Trump, and we're going to talk to her about having babies, having kids. Oh, don't forget that, speaking of babies, tomorrow, my little redheaded sweetheart baby libertarian, Hazel Rose, will be joining us on the Wake Up America show for the first time. Cute little baby Hazel Rose. She just sleeps all the time. She sleeps, she poops, she eats. She's easy. I think she's awake for like maybe 5 to 6, maybe 7 hours of the day. So most of the day she just kind of sleeps, and she's just angelic and beautiful. And her little hair is like, it's kind of like orange when you see it in a certain light. It's like orange head. I can't wait until like she gets like a big tuft of it. We don't know if it's curly or straight yet, but won't it be cute if it's like these big puff, like orange curls on top of her head? Orange baby, good. Yes, right? If everybody could just have little baby libertarian redhead girls, then I think that America would be great again.
From now on, it's going to be America first, okay? America first.
Yes, it is, Mr. President. And then at 8:30, we've got Daniela Pensack. Was the opening of the Olympics, was it a representation of the Last Supper, or was it a Greek Bacchanalia, as depicted in the famous painting from the 1800s of the Greek gods feasting on Mount Olympus? See, this is the thing when you've got so much overlap between like Christianity and paganism, right? Where they melded a lot at the very beginning of Christianity, is that people really get a lot of the symbols confused. So Daniela, who's an expert on such things, is going to share with us her thoughts this morning at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. Looks like we just sold another White Dudes for Donald Trump shirt. Thank you, Nancy. Somebody's going to wear that shirt. So, yes, Shiver Me Triggers, White Dudes for Donald Trump shirts will absolutely trigger the left this morning. So, if you're enjoying the Wake Up America show today, don't forget to click that like button. And before you leave today, if it's your first time here, we want you to be a regular guest. The show's schedule is Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. It's a 2-hour tour de force of economic freedom and personal liberty, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time in the mornings, Monday through Friday. And then each day, typically we do a theme. Mondays is Mondays with Miltimore. Tuesdays, there's no theme yet. Wednesdays is Big Brain Time with the Judge Napolitano. Thursdays today, Thirsty Thursdays with the lovely Ladies of Liberty. Fridays, we do Freedom Family Friday. And instead of 3 Petersons, you get 4 Petersons. So 1, 2, 3, 4 Petersons, used to be 3. Me, my wife, Stephanie, Justin Peterson, and now my little baby, Hazel Rose Peterson, joins us on the show Friday. Little Hazel. Hazel Rose will join us as a newborn, just a week and 2 days old. So very excited to have her on the show for the first time. You don't want to miss tomorrow's show. It's going to be awesome. Okay, enough is enough. President Trump goes off on a reporter at the NABJA interview after getting hostile with her first question after trying to claim Trump is racist. I am so proud of how President Trump handled this interview and the way that it has been framed by many people who think that many Black Democrats who think that it was disgraceful the way that he was treated. I think this really will backfire on the Democrats. Take a look and a listen.
I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals.
Keep in mind, this is the beginning of the interview.
From Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe Black district attorneys. You've attacked Black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask
well, maybe they're losers.
Are, quote, stupid and racist.
They probably are stupid and racist. I remember that these people exist in a world where they cannot be racist. They can literally say the most racist crap that you've ever believed in, that you've ever heard, but they can't be racist because what they believe is that the only people who can be racist are the people in power because, again, they're woke, which means that they look at the world through oppressors and oppressed, so they can say racist stuff, and if Donald Trump calls them out on that, it's a terrible crime because Black people can't be racist, according to woke people. Right? I know it's confusing. Let's continue. Watch how he handles this. I'm so proud of him.
You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort.
Nick Fuentes.
So my question, sir, now that you are asking Black supporters to vote for you, why should Black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And
I love it. I love it. And listen, now there's a lot of Black people who are there in the audience who are hooping and hollering and stuff. It's not like all Black journalists are there a monolith. There's Harris Faulkner out there from Fox News. There's plenty of Black conservatives probably, and they stuck them in the back of the room just like they stuck Rosa Parks at the back of the bus. This is how they didn't allow any conservative Black journalists to ask any questions that day, by the way. Donald Trump just gets right up in their face and tells them they're fake news again. I mean, just chef's kiss. White dudes for Donald Trump.
I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the Black population of this country. I've done
he loves Black people.
For the Black population of this country, including
Now remember, these are supposed to be professionals. These are the National Association of Black Journalists are professional, working black journalists, right? They're supposed to be the best of the best, the creme of the creme. And listen,
employment, including
well, I'll back it up a little bit. I don't want to interrupt too much because I know it's annoying, but if I don't add my commentary to this, then what exactly is the point of watching the show? You could just watch the clip by yourself, right? You want to hear what AP has to say, right? Try not to interrupt too much, but it's my show. Here we go.
I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money. They were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave
There's one black person out in the back clapping back. It's probably Harris' fault.
Gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something
Mr.
was
President,
wrong.
I would love...
Boom, dude. Okay, so he's destroying them. I know this doesn't seem like a very big insult when he talks about the fact that he was there, he was on time, he was ready to go, they couldn't get their equipment ready. Please understand, these are journalists, so their entire career is getting this kind of equipment up and running and everything working on time. They're supposed to be professionals, so he is calling them out to their face, not only for their rudeness, but for their unprofessionalism and their inability to do their jobs correctly, which is their job that they get paid to do, and they can't even get it running on time. I mean, absolutely brilliant master stroke by President Trump in handling this hostile interview, throws it right back into her face. She throws the pie. He catches it miraculously and just bam, whipped cream pie right back in the face. Brilliantly handled and not disrespectful at all.
I think it's a very nasty question. I have answered the question.
I love this, this hand movement right there. Could we all, everybody who's out there right now, can you all do this with me? Can we do the Donald Trump hand movement for just 1 second? I want you guys to let's do this together. Hold on. It's like the open palms coming together. All right, here we are. Like this. It's like, you got to be able to see me here. So it's like, this here. What is this? I don't know. I don't know what's this is a very uniquely Trump gesture, which I think this probably closed him a lot of real estate deals talking like this here, like this, that is just classic Trump.
Been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act.
For you to start off the
dude.
question and answer period.
Hold on just 1 second. Dude is a straight gangster. I have been the best president. I have been the best president since Abraham Lincoln for black people. I mean, this guy is just killing it. Whoa. I mean, the balls. Even if it's, it may be true, it may not be true, but it just doesn't matter. This guy, just to have the gall to say something like that at the National Association for Black Journalists, at NABJA, to say that to their faces there, I'm the best president for blacks since Abraham Lincoln. And I'm not saying he's wrong, because she's saying, what about Johnson, who passed the Voting Rights Act? Lyndon Johnson is the one, when you talk about when Joe Biden had that quote, he said, they're going to put you all back in chains. Lyndon Johnson famously was alleged to have said that I will have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 100 years, because his Great Society program would put them all on the dole and keep blacks as a permanent underclass so that they would be tied to the Democratic Party in perpetuity. So when she counters with saying, well, what about President Johnson? just go back and read some of Lyndon Johnson's comments about African Americans. This woman is ignorant.
Wow. I have answered the question. I have been the best president for the black population.
Who said, whoa? Somebody in the back, oh, hold on, I got to hear it again. This is just too fun. It would have been amazing to be there and see this in person.
Wow. I have answered the question. I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act.
And for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work, in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to...
I mean, he's sitting there alone. No help. No one out there. I mean, just completely surrounded by hyenas and jackals shouting at him, ready to eat him alive. And he stands there strong like a brick wall. That's my president. You love to see it. Here's Donald Trump putting up a 3-minute masterclass on how to not take the bait when asked about January 6th. Take a listen to this.
Another had a stroke. Were the people who assaulted those 140 officers, including those I just mentioned, patriots who deserve pardons?
Well, let me bring it back to modern day. Like about 5 days ago, we had an attack on the Capitol. Horrible attack on the Capitol. You saw the people that were protesting and spraying these incredible monuments, bells, lions, all these magnificent.
Beautiful response. I mean, I don't know if he had prepped for that for the January 6th question, but and if you don't know what he's talking about, there was literally a protest just last week in Washington, D.C., where pro-Palestinian protesters were defacing public monuments in D.C., burning American flags and painting bells. And Trump will explain it here in a little bit more detail. But this is how you do it. If you ever thought about running for public office, if you have a position, like a high-level position, maybe at a company, it's controversial, what have you, somebody asks you these questions, you don't have to answer the question that they asked. Or you don't have to answer the question the way that they asked it, because they set this up perfectly to try and trap him. The way that he responds is he turns it immediately onto the protesters in Washington, D.C. Union Station last week. Listen to this.
On the Capitol. Horrible attack on the Capitol. You saw the people that were protesting and spraying these incredible monuments, bells, lions, all these magnificent limestone and granite with red paint, red spray paint that will never actually come off, especially in the limestone. It will never, I'm a builder, I know about this stuff. It'll never, you'll see it in 100 years from now. They viciously attacked our government. They fought with police. They fought with them much more openly than I saw on January 6th. What's going to happen to those people? What's going to happen to the people in Portland that destroyed that city?
But sir, my question is on those.
What's going to happen to the people that tried to burn
rioters who assaulted officers?
You have to
would you pardon
What's
those
going to
people?
happen? Oh, absolutely, I would.
You would pardon those?
If they're innocent, I would pardon them.
They've been convicted.
And by the way, the Supreme Court just well, they were convicted by a very tough system. How come the people that tried to burn down Minneapolis, how come the people that took over a large percentage of Seattle, how come nothing happened to them? How come the people
sir, we're talking about people that were seen beating officers with flagpoles, dragging...
That's right. Damn, Donald.
Them down the stairs. They're on video. Have you seen that video, sir?
Oh, really? Well,
you would pardon those rioters?
They shot a young lady in the face who was protesting. They shot her in the face. You know, nobody died that day. You do know that. But people died in Seattle. Nobody died, but people died in Minneapolis. You know, people died in Minneapolis. And nothing happens, and nobody ever talks, and nothing happens to those people. But you went after the J6 people with a vengeance. And I'll tell you what about the cops that were, and I'm all for the police, as you know, but what about the police that are ushering everybody into the Capitol? Go in. What about that? Look, nothing is perfect in life, but you have people from Minneapolis, you have people just from 5 days ago in Washington, D.C., They were having fistfights and fighting with the police. They were spraying and destroying. They were desecrating our monuments in Washington, D.C. 5 days ago, and nothing happened to them. And you can't have two systems of justice. That's why they went after me as a political opponent, because they felt they couldn't win without doing that. And we're going to win
this.
Damn. Destroyed him. Absolutely leveled him. Donald Trump at the National Association for Black Journalists. I've got more to play for you, and we've got 30 more minutes in this hour for us to enjoy and react to these clips. It's absolutely beautiful and brilliant. We've got two guests coming up in the next hour, Camelia Peterson, followed by Daniela Pensack. And whenever we have to go get a guest, I always go backstage, get the guest on the screen, chat them up for a couple minutes, do any last minute preparations or what have you before they come on. And while I'm doing that, I play a commercial break. But you don't have to watch commercials here on the Wake Up America show. You can watch more content if you help us to unlock the bonus content that I produce for you every single day. I'm always really proud of the Wake Up America show and how supportive you all have been, because I have produced these mini documentaries now, I think going on something like 3 months. And every single day, you all have unlocked the bonus content in support of the Wake Up America show, me and my family. Thank you for that. In order to unlock the bonus content, you either do Rumble Rants, YouTube Super Chats, or what I recommend, the most fun thing to do, is to go to forlibertyshop.com and make a purchase. Any of the purchases that you make during the 2-hour period of the Wake Up America show count towards the bonus content unlock. Today, we already sold a White Dudes for Donald Trump shirt, so we're halfway there, $30 raised. So head on over to forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4, forlibertyshop.com. Get yourself some sweet merch. My recommendation to you, if you don't have the balls to wear the White Dudes for Donald Trump shirt, here's what I recommend. Get yourself some delicious Founding Flavors coffee. So when you go over to forlibertyshop.com, you'll see my hilarious troll White Dudes for Donald Trump shirts. But if you're not into getting assaulted in public, then my recommendation to you is that you guys check out our exclusive line of coffees, our revolutionary roasts, if you will. I just ran out and I'm kind of sad about it, so I need to get some more. Franklin's Electric Elixir is a delicious medium roast, has a bit of a hazelnut aroma to it. And Thomas's Painkiller is my number 1 favorite. It's a Colombian single origin. But in terms of caffeine, if you really need something with a lot of kick, then the light roasts are going to be what you're looking for. The light roast, Madisonian Morning or Jeffersonian Java are going to be the top picks for you. And if you like the designs, you can also get yourself some of these designs on mugs. My lovely wife put our coffee designs on mugs, so you can find those over at forlibertyshop.com. If you're into decaf as well, you can see we've got lots of 5-star reviews from customers, and those 5-star reviews are independently verified by a third-party institution that we don't have any connection to. So as you can see, these are all legit. Look, Doug H., for example, he got some Revolutionary Roast, says, I cannot tell a lie. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I do use it in my coffee ice cream recipe. Washington's Revolutionary Roast gives you the kick you need to cross the Delaware, but as complex as the Jefferson-Hamilton feud. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. There you go. Oh, I love it. Like our famous first president, says Tolly Owens, I cannot tell a lie. As it pertains to coffee, anyhow, this particular roast did not disappoint. My home was filled with such a rich aroma, noticeably more than your average store brand. The flavor was full and robust with a slight brightness, which I appreciate. I can't wait to try them all. So here's the deal. When I was in college, I drank alcohol that was bad. It was cheap. And I started to dislike like rum and vodka and whiskey. I didn't like any of those hard beverages. Why? Because I drank crappy, cheap versions of it. If you have only ever drank like the cheapest coffee at the store, and you're like, oh yeah, I like coffee or whatever, or every once in a while you maybe splurge and get a Starbucks or something or a Dunkin' Donuts, and you've never really had real rich premium coffee, try a box of Founding Flavors. Here's what my guarantee. If you don't like it, I will buy it back from you. Okay? You've got no risk, guarantee you will love Founding Flavors coffee. Try them all, but if you haven't got the budget for it, you can also try one. The more you buy, the more you save, as we've got like a bundle and save program. So go to forlibertyshop.com, try one of our delicious coffees, and I know that you're going to love it. So here we go. Okay. Yeah. So we're going through Donald Trump at NABJA yesterday. This was a hostile interview that Donald Trump performed a masterful response to. Here is the reporter suggesting that he's a racist for his comments. Take a listen.
Told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back.
So she's saying, it kind of cuts off there at the beginning. She says, you have told 4 congresswomen of color. Take a listen.
It's not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago.
So here's the thing. So when he's talking about these people, these congresswomen that he has said they should go back to the country, he's talking about Ilhan Omar. And these people who hate our country, they should go back to their country. If you don't like it here in the United States, you should leave. Why are you here? If you hate us so much, if you want to tear down our statues, burn our flag, desecrate our symbols, what are you doing here? I completely agree with Donald Trump on that. I don't think he's out of line for saying something like that at all. Now, one of the funniest moments that came out of this event is apparently Donald Trump picked up the water bottle that was owned by the reporter, this hostile reporter, and screwed the bottle cap on top of her water bottle tighter than it was before. Some people are saying, oh, it's just such a dick move. But then other people are saying, oh, he's just being a brat like Kamala Harris. Look at this. Watch.
So what I wanted to say was the last time we spoke, you said some words that were prophetic.
So if you're listening to the audio version of this later, I have to describe it for you. But Donald Trump picks up the woman's water bottle. There's hers, and then I love how this guy frames it, because when he zooms in, he's recording a TV screen with his cell phone, and he shows that Donald Trump's water bottle is over there. He picks up her water bottle, grabs hers. I mean, he has to really reach in order to get it. Grabs it, screws it on tighter, so that it's harder for her to get it off. And then it shows that his is right there. Isn't that funny? God, that's funny stuff. The Wake Up America show is brought to you in part by viewers and listeners like you. Don't forget to click that like button. And before you leave today, if you enjoyed the content, we'd love to have you be a regular follower of the Wake Up America show. We do stream live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. It's a great way to start your day, make some friends, hang out in the Rumble chat. We'd be glad to have you be a regular guest on the Wake Up America show. It's a lot of fun. One listener texted in this morning and said that they love the hold music that we play in the mornings. Reminds me of vaporware stuff. Yes. So the streaming, like live stream, will be starting now. Intro for the show this week is a bunch of like 80s movies mashups, but it's played with the background music of the water level, the underwater level from Donkey Kong 64. So somebody, if you're big fans of like retro and vaporware, that's what the Wake Up America show's theme is. So you can text the show too at 573-319-1586. Again, the text lines are open, and you can text us at 573-319-1586. We are streaming live as well over on X.com, and we get a lot of people who hang out with us over on X. It looks like we've got, 450 people joining us live. So 450 people on X, 230 on Rumble, 4, 5, 6, 700 numbers. If we had 700 people watching the Wake Up America show at any point, like in the first year of this show, I would have been pooping my pants with excitement. And now it's just kind of like, every day we kind of basically have 700 people watching. It's amazing. And I just can't thank you, audience members, enough for watching the show, participating. I know we have people watching us over on Locals this morning as well. Shout out to my Locals crew. The new For Liberty Network will be housed on Locals. I am going to be doing a branding shift, as it's no longer the For Liberty shop, the AP For Liberty shop, or the Wake Up America Show Locals page. I'm going to be transitioning everything over as we unfold the new network this fall, so that the new Locals page will be the For Liberty Network, and that's where you'll be able to go to watch this show and be able to watch the two new shows that we're creating. So keep an eye on us and this program. If you like this kind of content, we're going to be building out so much more for you. And just I think the thing that makes us different is that I really try and make a positive show. Like, yes, some of our stuff is trolling. Yes, some of our stuff might be a little mean, but for the most part, we try and keep things lighthearted. And when it comes to the community that we build on the Wake Up America show, go to the Rumble chat. Ask anybody. Many of these people who are watching the show, especially on Rumble right now, have been with me for years and years, way before I had the Wake Up America show. But many people who have joined the Wake Up America show in the last couple of years have now friends. We're all a community of people, of similar and like-minded people, but we all try and be friendly and supportive of one another, and it just really is a welcoming place. So if you like positive vibes to start your day, sometimes when I roll out of bed and I open my Twitter, it's just like pouring poison into your brain. You know what I mean? It's just how social media can be. But I try and build something a little bit different. So if you're looking for something like that and you'd like to be a part of a community of good people who are trying to save our country from communism and socialism and fascism and all forms of authoritarianism, then you're in the right place. And we hope that you'll become a regular guest and click that follow button and join us for our regular schedule. Okay, what else have we got here on the show today? Oh, this video just made me laugh. So Donald Trump and J.D. Vance as the good old boys from the Dukes of Hazzard. Take a look and a listen.
Rush Limbaugh.
Not bad, not bad. You're really dating yourself when you're talking about the Dukes of Hazzard here. Yes, so we tend to be a little bit more like the middle-aged kind of crew here on the Wake Up America show. Here's Gretchen Whitmer lying about schools being closed for COVID.
I think would be the number one thing that you would do differently.
Well, think about what we were confronted, right? The knowledge of the last pandemic was from the 1918 flu that disproportionately hurt little kids, killed little kids, took lives of some of the youngest Americans. And I think one of our collective worries was that in our schools, if our kids were going and they were getting sick, that they would start dying. We did not know it was respiratory in nature. We didn't know that it would be people on the other end of the age spectrum who would be most vulnerable. And so I think that the education stuff, we would have been able to do a lot more to help our kids.
Yeah, right. So she's explaining why schools were closed during COVID, saying we didn't know it was respiratory in nature. Lie. And we didn't know it would be people on the other end of the age spectrum that would be the most vulnerable, old people. Lie, right? Either dumb or lying, right? Gretchen Whitmer, one of the leading potential candidates for vice president under Kamala Harris. Here's Donald Trump with a fact check here when he asserted that Kamala Harris failed the bar exam. Take a listen.
Suggested Harris that let's take one. I said, Joe and I will go and take a cognitive test. Now, I'd do it with her too. I would do it with her also. You know what? She failed her law exam. She didn't pass her law exam, so maybe she wouldn't pass the cognitive test.
Mr. President, are you saying she wouldn't pass? Just to be clear,
I'm just giving you the facts.
See, they don't want to believe the truth when they hear it because it goes against their narratives. It doesn't confirm their biases. But here we have the fact check right here. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris failed the California bar exam on her first attempt, but then she graduated law school in 1989. Fact check. There we go. Thank you very much, Colin Rugg, for that little fact check here. Here we have Alina Habba with a mic drop at the Trump Vance rally.
Because when I spoke at the RNC, I didn't know she was the one we were going after, but now I do. And I'm going to speak to you, Miss Harris. I am a strong woman, a mom, a lawyer, and an American. And unlike you, Kamala, I know who my roots are, I know where I come from, and I don't play around with the Constitution.
This is the response that Republicans are making to the fact that now Democrats are trying to advance this idea that Kamala Harris is now black, despite the fact that for years they touted her as an Indian American. And it's just fascinating because Donald Trump, one of his comments yesterday that got a lot of heat was that he said, I didn't know that she was black. I thought that she was Indian because she played herself off to be one.
And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe that
I think somebody should look into that too when you ask, continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
Bro, to say that at the National Association for Black Journalists, the balls on this man, the big brass balls of this man to say or do something like that. We gotta get this guy reelected. Oh my God, I love it. It's brilliant. Here's a black woman responding to Donald Trump's treatment at NABJA.
Before I start this interview, I'm going to ask y'all to, forgive my language in advance, because I'm going to say some stuff on here that I don't use to sell my videos. So those of y'all who have sensitive ears, keep swiping. Let this be one of my videos that you swipe on by, because listen, playtime is over and the gloves are off. Now listen, first I want to say thank you to my Chi-Town sister who, let me know that Trump was going to be in Chicago doing the interview. Now let me say this. This was the most disrespectful interview I think I've ever seen. First of all, Trump knew when he went to this interview that he was going in the lion's den. Kudos, Trump, to you going to this, because this was some straight up bullshit. This girl was so disrespectful, it's ridiculous. The whole fucking panel was disrespectful, but it was so disrespectful, it was ridiculous. First of all, Kamala Harris didn't even show up. Kamala Harris didn't even show up because she don't feel like she needs to show up, because she already knows she got the black votes lined up in Chicago, and she don't have no respect for the black people. And let's not forget, she chicken shit. She complete chicken shit, because she been saying she wanted to debate Trump, and this would have been the best time for her to be on stage with Trump and say whatever she wanted to say to him. But of course she didn't even show up. The doggone interviewers, they were 35 minutes late because they had no respect for Trump either. But Trump, kudos to you for going into this bull crap. Now, this interview didn't even start the interview off by saying hello President Trump, or hello former President Trump, or hello Trump. She didn't even speak to him. She just went straight into the text. And I'm going to tell y'all something. I don't like Kamala Harris at all. Period. Y'all know I don't like Kamala Harris. But she is the VP of the United States of America. And if I had a conversation with her, if I had an interview with her, the first thing I would do before I even started any question would say, hello, VP Harris, how you doing? That's the least respect you can give to anybody. But these disrespectful tricks, they have any respect for Trump. All they did was come out with attacks from the beginning. From the fucking beginning, that's all they came out with. Now, this dumbass trick gonna have the nerve to say to Trump, tell me why should black people support you? With your rhetoric and all this and all that, and why should black people support you? You lied about Obama, you lied about Nikki Haley, and let me tell y'all something. That's what a lot of the black community mad at Trump about, because Trump questioned Obama citizenship in the United States of America. And you cannot question King Obama, because black folks will have a fit. That's what a lot of them are said with Trump about. Because you can't question their God. And a lot of black people, their God is Obama. Y'all get mad at me all y'all want. It is what it is. I said what I said, and I meant what the fuck I said. Yep, I said it. But let me tell y'all this right here. So she comes at Trump with all this old bullcrap. So of course Trump said, well, you know, I've done a lot of stuff for the black community. You know, he said the same thing he always said. You know, I've done more for the black community than anybody except for Abraham Lincoln. Then this dumb, supposed to be educated ass trick had the audacity to say with her brainwashed, brain dead, simple-minded ass. So you telling me you done more for the black community than Lyndon B. Johnson, who passed the Voting Rights Act? This has got to be the dumbest bitch I ever heard in my life, and I've heard a lot of them. But she's supposed to be so educated. First of all, let me tell y'all something, because I'm tired of blacks acting like Democrats, and Lyndon B. Johnson did so much for the goddamn black community. Lyndon B. Johnson didn't have a fucking choice but to sign off on the Voting Rights Act because Republicans passed it. He was the president of the United States of America, and he didn't have a choice but to sign off on it. It's not like Lyndon B. Johnson and the Democrat Party did a goddamn thing for blacks out of the kindness of their heart. They did it because they didn't have a choice because Republicans passed it. And I'm so sick of these goddamn dumbass black folks acting like Democrats love us. They ain't never cared nothing about us, and they still don't. But y'all keep falling for this goddamn trap they keep putting out there, thinking they care so much about you. And yep, I said what I said, and I meant what I said. But then, you know, shit goes on to ask, you know, so you call, you know, Republicans and y'all said Kamala Harris is a DEI hire. Do you think she's a DEI hire? Fuck yeah, she's a DEI hire. She's a DEI hire. She was hired because she was a woman and because she was a woman of color. And she started calling herself black. Then this interviewer gonna tell me, well, she always called herself black. You telling a fucking lie, because Kamala Harris called herself whatever she need to call herself to get whatever vote she need to get. I'm waiting on her to say that she's a trans woman, because now she's trying to get votes from the trans community. Kamala Harris has been an Indian woman when she was running up there in fucking California. She became a black woman when she was running for VP, and she needed the black votes. And like I said, I'm waiting on her to say she's a trans woman, because now she's trying to get votes from the trans community. So don't sit up here and act like Kamala Harris don't switch with the wind because she cares. This was the worst interview ever. And Trump, I give kudos to you for even going into this bullshit, because I wouldn't have went nowhere near it. I wouldn't have went nowhere near it, period. But let me tell y'all something. If y'all sitting up here thinking just because the person is black or just because the person is a woman that they got to jump in line with the Democratic Party or they got to vote for Kamala Harris, kiss the crack of my ass, because I am a black woman and I'm not voting for either. I'm not voting for Kamala Harris and I'm not voting for the Democratic Party, and it is what the fuck it is. Before I start this interview,
I don't know what to say. I mean, what could I possibly say that could ever top that? Has that ever been better said? Has anyone ever said that in a way that was so perfect, so meticulously crafted? Hollywood writers in their heyday, when they still made good movies, could not have written a speech better than that. Did anybody see the Barbie movie when that girl got up and gave that monologue at the end about how hard it is to be a woman? And this was like supposed to be like the big piece, right? Talking about what the inner soul of a female and things like that. And it was just this kind of like whiny, you know, tampon-laden speech. And then you hear something like this that's so raw and so real, right? You can tell that that is not an NPC. That is a woman who has broken free of the programming. That is a woman who has wandered off of the Democratic plantation. She's thinking for herself. That is one of the biggest enemies of the Democratic Party. I'm going to find that woman. I'm going to try and get that woman on my show if I can. I don't know if I will be able to. Thank you to Courtney Conover for the donation, because I know you appreciate that. I will give you, if you want a copy of that video and you want to share that, send me a text message and I will respond back with the link. The text line is 573-319-1586. You can text the show at 573-319-1586 is the text line. Let me know that you want that clip and I will respond back with the URL that you can use to share it. I'm gonna go get my friend Camelia Peterson. We haven't unlocked the bonus content yet. We've raised like $42 or so towards the $60 goal. Come on, guys, get some donations in there so you can watch the Rumble bonus content. Don't you guys want to see it instead of the commercials? We'll be right back with Camelia Peterson to react to that and more on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network.
expansive time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to wake up America. For memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor your home about as exciting as...
Thank you to LDubs78, who just unlocked the bonus content for you all. The theme of this week's bonus content is vice presidents who became the president. Take a listen and enjoy. We'll be right back with Camellia.
Wake Up America show bonus content looks at vice presidents who became presidents. Today we consider Martin Van Buren. Martin Van Buren said the happiest days of his life were his entrance and exit from the office of president. While political opponents called him Martin Van Ruin, many Americans did not share this sentiment. Despite losing the 1840 election, he received more votes than in his 1836 victory. Van Buren was the first president not born a British subject. His Dutch descent family, the Van Burens, struggled financially. His father, Abraham, was a Jefferson supporter and ran a tavern frequented by politicians. This environment sparked Martin's interest in politics. Despite financial constraints, he studied law independently while working as a clerk. Van Buren's political journey began as a minor county official. He quickly displayed the qualities that would elevate him in American politics. Unfailingly polite and shrewd, he negotiated the political landscape of New York's Democratic-Republican Party, stressing unity and loyalty to Jeffersonian principles. Van Buren transitioned from the New York State Senate to the New York Attorney General's office and then to the U.S. Senate. Disagreeing with President John Quincy Adams, he aligned with Andrew Jackson. In Washington, he expanded his party-building efforts on a national scale. When Jackson became president, he appointed Van Buren as Secretary of State, recognizing his political acumen. Van Buren managed foreign affairs and cultivated political relationships. He built the Democratic Party and became one of Jackson's trusted advisors despite occasional political differences. Van Buren skillfully navigated internal conflicts in Jackson's cabinet, particularly with Vice President John Calhoun. Jackson dismissed much of his cabinet and sent Van Buren to London as U.S. Minister to England. In Jackson's second term, Van Buren served as vice president. Van Buren won the 1836 presidential election by promising to continue Jackson's policies. However, he took office as the booming economy began to slow, leading to the Panic of 1,837 inches and a severe depression. Economic troubles became his primary focus. Van Buren believed in limited federal government and states' rights. Rejecting the Whigs' national bank proposal, he blamed the Depression on powerful interests and proposed an independent treasury. While Congress debated this, economic woes persisted. He managed other divisive issues, such as opposing Texas annexation and easing tensions with Great Britain over the U.S.-Canada border. He favored diplomacy over aggression, earning criticism from those demanding a tougher stance. Van Buren's wife Hannah died, leaving him a widower with 4 sons. He never remarried, but his son's wife, Angelica Singleton Van Buren, served as White House hostess. His sons, especially Abraham and Martin Jr., became his key aides during his presidency. Facing criticism for the economic depression and foreign affairs, his re-election prospects dimmed against Whig candidate William Henry Harrison. The Whigs matched the Democrats' campaign savvy and portrayed Harrison as the log cabin and hard cider candidate, ridiculing Van Buren as unmanly and aristocratic. Despite Van Buren's modest background, the Whigs' portrayal stuck and he lost the election, even failing to carry New York. He served only one term, marked by both failures and successes. His presidency should not overshadow his significant contributions to American politics. Van Buren played crucial roles in creating the Democratic Party and the second party system, where Democrats competed with the Whigs. His impact on political development remains significant, leaving a lasting legacy on American politics.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. Click that like button. If today's your first time that you've ever watched the Wake Up America show, it's nice to meet you. We'd love to earn the follow from you if you don't mind. Click the follow button before you leave if you enjoy the content that you're hearing today. And just note, this is a 5-day-a-week, 2-hour live stream in the mornings, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. 2 hours of fun and freedom, and we'd love to have you be a regular guest. Donald Trump's massive cojones on display at the National Association for Black Journalists yesterday, just burning up the headlines. You know, I went from being an anti-Trump guy in 2016 to, I think, becoming a full-fledged supporter. My next guest is still on the fence. I think she'll vote for him, but I wouldn't call her a full-fledged supporter yet. Maybe what she saw yesterday might change her minds. It's Thirsty Thursdays with the lovely, rare Camelia Peterson joining us now. Good morning, CJ.
Good morning. And in fairness, I would not call myself a full-fledged supporter of any politician except for maybe Tony Lavasco and Thomas Massie. Those are probably my two exceptions.
Okay, cool. You're so much more pure than the rest of us,
Yeah,
Camelia.
I know, right?
How could you not see what he did yesterday and just not want to run to the ballot box to vote for him? That even policy questions aside, you need somebody with those kinds of guts in the White House, right?
Sure, and I will vote for him. I've said that. At the same time, the thing that always makes me hesitate a little bit with the whole, get on the Trump train sort of talk is that I don't like, we have this issue with the deification of politicians that just makes me ill, right? I mean, I think it's just a bad trend for us to be doing. And it's not just with Trump anymore, right? This has become a cultural thing. And I see it here at home, even
Camelia,
with some of our state politicians.
stop.
But anyway,
Stop.
but yes.
I'm not talking about deification politicians or your libertarian, meta conversation that you want to have. I want to talk about the man with giant brass balls going into the lion's den.
Yes.
And telling them to their face that they're racists for the way they ask him questions, and telling them to their face that they are rude and hostile. I mean, who does that? Is there anyone else in politics could do that? I don't know many. Maybe Thomas Massie or Tony Lavasco could pull something like that off. I don't see it. I don't see it. Right?
No, not in the same way.
Tell me how much you loved the way that he responded to them yesterday, because I know you did.
I did.
Yeah. Okay. Let's hear it.
No, it was a sight to behold and to hear, right? That's honestly, that's the response that's needed to that kind of over the top, ludicrous, questioning like that. And I don't know, are they going to ask those same kind of questions of anybody else? Maybe not. Maybe he engenders like that sort of, questioning to begin with, but it doesn't matter. Like if they're going to go down that road, they need to be put in their place. I mean, you need to respond in like kind. And I don't think that he was, the difference I think in how he responded that is different from maybe 2016 Trump is that he didn't personally insult her, didn't insult her appearance, didn't insult, like any other, personal attributes about her, but he did just like call her on the carpet and say, this is, a fake news organization and you're doing a shoddy job of journalism and you're not even professional in how you run your event. So, I mean, yeah. I think that that's perfectly acceptable and necessary. I think that was a great thing.
Now, one of the things that we're so that people were talking about related to that was the question of, God, there were so many good parts about this. I'm trying to like nail down what we should focus on. And I definitely want to talk about JD Vance and not having kids and all that kind of stuff as well. And I kind of also want to talk to you about the Olympics. So in terms of Donald Trump's handling of that, the way he handled the January 6th question by going immediately to the people who were rioting in DC, absolutely masterful. But he said, oh, black jobs. They questioned him about black jobs. And I didn't get a chance to play that clip, but they were saying, what did you mean by black jobs? Do you think, I mean, is that that line of attack on Donald Trump for saying that illegal immigrants are coming and taking black jobs? Do you think they have a point there, or do you agree with the way Trump is framing it in saying, in essence, well, the left is always talking about black entrepreneurship and black-owned businesses. So, I mean, there must be such a thing as a black job if there's a black-owned business. How do you see that?
Right. I mean, well, it's the craziest thing to me that we talk about, jobs in terms of your skin color to begin with, right? It's just, we've come so full circle on the racism question, and it's just crazy. However, I think, again, this is, turning around their own rhetoric on them. And they do. They use that. And it's the bigotry of low expectations that they do all of the time. And they pigeonhole, their own people and limit them. And so I think, you're having all of these. They're having all of these groups for, Kamala that are segregated, right? So they are literally practicing segregation and racism, but they don't expect for that to be turned around and used against them, for their hypocrisy to be called out.
Exactly, which leads me to my next point. If you want to show some hypocrisy, we were talking on Tuesday about the White Dudes for Kamala Harris meeting. We had a little quick brief mention on that one. So I thought a little trolling, a little turnabout would be fair play. And I made a shirt yesterday. It has now had over 500,000 views over on Twitter. I'm pulling it up on the screen right now, calling all white dudes for Donald Trump. It's time to stand and be counted. Now, predictably, the response to that, Camellia, was to be very triggered. Why are they so upset about white dudes for Donald Trump?
I don't know. I laughed so hard when I saw that. I mean, it wasn't just it was just the whole thing, right? It wasn't just the white dudes for Donald Trump. It was the image, with the sort of, 1950s, it just was like the whole thing, right? But, come on, if you're going to have white dudes for Kamala Harris, why can't you have white dudes for Donald Trump? Let's expose the ludicrous nature of what they're doing for what it is. I'm fine with this.
Yes, exactly. If you can have white dudes for Kamala Harris, then you can have white dudes for Donald Trump. And I think that it makes a lot of sense for us to use this kind of satire to throw it back on the left. A lot of these, we were talking before the interview about some of these like anti-Trump conservative types who are always talking about how, they don't like the temperature of the room, and they don't like how Donald Trump is crude, and they don't like this direction of the Republican Party. I'm kind of sick and tired of this loser attitude that we get from some people on the right, Camellia. So, for example, let me see if I can find the tweet that I posted yesterday that was an example of what I'm talking about here. Just give me 1 second. This was a tweet in response to one of these like DeSantis people who are very angry about who hate Donald Trump and have become never Trumpers because DeSantis got his butt kicked in the primary. So this is what I posted. Oh, they say I'll pull it up on the screen. The GOP can't simultaneously be a party that claims it cares about merit and not racial identity, while at the same time the GOP nominee is arguing if Kamala Harris is black enough. It makes no sense. It undercuts a big part of their messaging, and it isn't a winning strategy. Okay. Shut the f up, okay? We can absolutely do both, and we should. This is what I posted. I say what we should do, we have to hold the left to their own double standards, right? Take a bath in the hypocrisy. Let the bubbles bubble up around you. When we should be canceling the left, just like we did to Home Depot lady a couple of weeks ago, But when they try to do the same to us, we should explode with outrage. If this is how we're going to have to fight if we want to win. The reason Donald Trump has taken over the Republican Party is because the people who told us to play nice with our enemies let us get our throats cut and let men in dresses wander out onto the soccer pitch and into the boxing matches to crush our daughters' skulls on the pitch. So I think people are tired of this kind of loser, play nice. We don't want to be too mean. We don't want to play racial identity politics. The white dudes for Donald Trump, that seems a little needlessly aggressive. Can you see where I'm going with this, Camelia?
Sure. No, and I think you're right. And I think what you said is the key is that we need to do both. And I actually think this is where Republicans have failed. And this is one of the criticisms I hear from those people at the doors who surprise me when they tell me that, they're not really crazy about Trump anymore. One of their criticisms of Republicans is that Republicans are just as guilty as the other side of ranting and raving about all of these problems, but then they don't come up with any actionable solutions. And I think that we do need to expose the hypocrisy, on the left. But at the same time, I think we really need to be providing those hope and change kind of solutions that is a very populist thing to do because people are being impacted in a very real way in their pocketbook and their standard of living and all kinds of things that including, by the way, I really appreciate Trump's strong stance on the education issue. Because even if the federal government has should have no say, like they should have no say in that in the states, right? And just removing that stranglehold from the states would do wonders for what states can do then with their education systems. But I think that, that's something that we need. We need both things. We need the solutions that people can really, that resonate with people and that they can really relate to, while at the same time exposing just the asinine hypocrisy, the rank hypocrisy that goes on the left, especially when it comes to the issue of race. Like, by the way, I think it's totally legit and valid that he's pointing out that Kamala used to tout her Indian heritage, and I think that's a legit line of criticism.
I think it's fair game. If your whole pitch is that you are qualified because of your race, if you are pitching yourself as an Indian American and we should vote for you and respect you and because you're Indian American, you absolutely deserve to be called out for it if all of a sudden you decide to pitch another race as the reason for why you should be elected, right? And it's I don't think it's offensive at all for Donald Trump to bring up the fact that she was a diversity hire. Joe Biden specifically said that. He said that he was picking her. He was going to pick a black woman for vice president based on the fact that they're a black woman. So that's a garden variety definition of diversity, equity, inclusion, kind of a standard.
Right. Yeah. And how demeaning is that? Even though they won't admit it, but like in the inside, in your own self-esteem, how demeaning is it to you to know that you were chosen because of the color of your skin or your ethnicity instead of the qualifications that you bring to the table?
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is that we need a kind of a dual approach where we have some people who are like playing nice, playing the game, like while the rest of us are sort of are playing, getting in the trenches and doing a little, skullduggery like this. So some people on our side are playing the high road. The rest of us are playing the low road. It reminds me, and I know you don't watch any pop culture stuff, so you didn't watch Game of Thrones, right?
I haven't yet. I've been told I need to, so it's on my list.
Yes, you got it. But in the Game of Thrones, there is this thing called the Red Wedding, and what the strategy that you're advancing, which I agree with, by the way, is manifest in this Red Wedding scene. And I hate to spoiler alert it for you, but it's been out for years, and it's your fault you haven't seen it yet. But
anyway.
but the scene of the Red Wedding is actually based on an actual historic events that happened. These are two events that happened in Scotland, fascinating events. And I love this strategy, Camelia, because it's worked before. One event happened in 1440 in Scotland, and the other one happened in 1692 in Scotland. Fascinating history. So your strategy that you're talking about here, Camelia, one is called the Black Dinner. And this event took place in Edinburgh Castle, where the young Earl Douglas and his brother were invited to dine with King James II of Scotland. Now, during the dinner, a black bull's head was presented, a symbol of death was presented, and the two young guests were seized and executed on trumped-up charges of treason. There was another situation, the massacre of Glencoe, where soldiers who had been accepted as guests under the Klan's roof, right, came in. The massacre was carried out early in the morning, and many of the members of the Klan were killed or died from exposure after fleeing into the winter night. So we need the nice guys like you to set up the banquet, to dress it up, make it look all nice, be diplomatic, and then we need to have the guards hidden away behind after we invite our enemies in, pretending that we're going to make peace with them, and then we do the massacre at Glencoe, right?
So this is the principle of life that I think is the key to success in anything, and it's this yin yang, it's this balance, right? And so, but here's the thing here, I would go a little bit of a step farther here, and I think that Trump, though, himself needs to be able to do both, right? I think that people don't expect him to come out with those actual policy solutions that are a little nerdy, right? And I think that that would be another, it'd be another tool in his arsenal that would make him even more appealing, as if he would start to talk about some of those actual policy solutions in addition to all of his other things.
Gotcha. Let's talk about this Wall Street Journal article I sent you, Camelia. It's good stuff. Why J.D. Vance worries about childlessness. Republican vice presidential nominee links low fertility to high housing costs, social isolation, and a lack of patriotism. What is this story?
Yeah, when you sent me this, and it's not like it's really long or anything, but they talk about how that, we've been talking about how JD, talks about childless cat ladies and all of these kind of things. And, I have some quibbles with him on what he thinks is the solution or the solutions to the declining birth rate. I understand the concern for it. However, I do think it was really interesting that one of the things that he talked about, that it ties it to risk aversion and a culture of social isolation that threatens to weigh, and this is interesting, it threatens to weigh on U.S. economic dynamism. So it's this idea that we can't be, an economically dynamic society because people are isolating now, socially. We are more risk averse. And I think that is definitely true. I'm, of course, I think women are naturally more risk averse, right? But I do think as a society, we are definitely more risk averse when you compare us to, the revolution and the founding of the country and the things people did to try to build a better life for themselves. And we have become a very decadent, comfortable, society. And I think that that's a lot of what leads to this. So I think it's a really interesting thing to think about. But I was talking actually about something very similar to this yesterday with someone. And the difficult part is knowing what the solution is, because we're not going backwards. That's the problem with people like JD Vance and Matt Walsh and some of these other people, is like they seem to have this idea, Josh Hawley, right, that you can move backwards, that you can turn the clock back. And I don't think that you can do that. I think that we have to find a way to adapt going forward. And it's not probably going to look like what their ideal is. I think that what it should look like is that we definitely still need to be talking about the importance of men in their children's lives. And if that's not going to look like the ideal nuclear family, okay, but we can still have men who play very active roles in their children's lives, even if it's not like the perfect, picturesque family. So I think that we do need to keep doing things like that. But also, it's funny because look at the people who are having children. Like, if you were to classify them, ideologically, who do you think are the people that are having more children right now? I think that's adaptation in itself, right? Because it's the left who's talking about how women don't need to have children, and they're the ones that are making fun of the women who are having children. And so, I understand this from an economic perspective when you talk about the system we're in, where you're having to support, the older generation, through Social Security and things like that, and those issues. But from a cultural, ideological perspective, you might almost say that a lot of the things that we have a problem with are breeding themselves out.
That is a very good point, Camelia. But there are a lot of economic problems. I mean,
Yeah.
the average wage has not matched inflation in the last 50
Yeah.
years. The prices of homes have skyrocketed. The price of food, groceries has skyrocketed. People are buying, Big Mac value meals. They're not really value meals anymore. They're $18 for a sandwich and fries and a drink. At fast food places, and their wages have not kept up. So, I mean, here's the thing, Camelia, people can't put up with that for very long, right? They're going to demand solutions, and they're not going to be demanding an invisible hand of a free market to step in. They're going to demand the government do something.
Right.
And unfortunately, I don't see a lot of people on our side that are very good at articulating just how that hand articulates itself and provides for us the bounty, because people just don't understand how goods get to market. They don't understand how a pencil is made, as Milton Friedman said, right? In I Pencil. I don't know if we are headed towards a better future. I think we can. That's why I like how Vivek Ramaswamy said, sort of articulates that he thinks America's best days are ahead of us if we make certain decisions that are in our own best interests. But we're definitely failing. I think probably number one on the education front, Camelia. The left has completely captured not only all of academia but all of K through 12 as well.
Right.
I don't see conservative men getting into becoming kindergarten teachers or getting into becoming middle or high school teachers. At least not at the rate not even at the rate that they were when I was in high school. I had some good male teachers that were great influences on me. But when I look at like my nephew's schools, it's all women for the most part.
Right. And a lot of the men that are in teacher roles right now are, let's just say, a lot of them are more feminine men.
Yes.
And so that is, that's a major problem. That's why when somebody runs for office, especially at the local level, especially at the governor level, like if you are not talking about education as one of your top priorities, right? I don't want to hear it, because that is one of the biggest issues. Like everybody's like, oh, our children are our future. Well, if you think so, don't you think that we should do something about this, and that it should be more important than, personal property taxes and, law and order and this, like, those are all fine, important things, but our children are our first line of defense, literally, for liberty in the future of this country. And how do you just ignore that and say, oh, we just need to throw more money at our current system? But yeah, what you said about Vivek Ramaswamy, and when I think about, the example, like when I think about where do I go where do we go in the world when, America goes so far downhill because people are so comfortable that they just cannot see the light until it's just unbearable. Like, where do we go in the world? And maybe it's Argentina, right? Because what Malay has done with that, but look how bad it had to get there first, right? And so we do need someone here that can present that message and those concepts of liberty. Imagine people wanting to read Milton Friedman and Hayek. I mean, kids even, right? Maybe Vivek is that kind of guy.
Maybe. So real quick on local issues, I do get a lot of listeners from the 573 and around Missouri who listen to the Wake Up America show. I know you're doing a lot of door knocking, Camelia, and going around the state talking to people about issues. But are you comfortable talking to us about who you like for the statewide races? Because a lot of people will send me messages and ask me, who am I voting for governor, or who do I like for Secretary of State? Because there's a billion people running for these offices, treasurer, et cetera, et cetera. Are you comfortable sharing with us who you like for these statewide offices?
Sure. Like I am very much at the point where it does not bother me.
Okay. So who do you like for governor and why?
I've already voted for Jay Ashcroft, actually. So I early voted, and the education issue is one of the big reasons. And also, I think, governing style as well. Now, I will say, Mike Kehoe is probably also pretty good on education. I don't have any issues with him there. But from an economic point of view, that's where I'm not good with this continuation of this economy of tax credits and subsidies that benefit just a few big, companies. They don't help the small people that they claim to help. And so I'm not in favor of that. And I think that's more part of his platform and the way he would govern. Nice man. And as far as, Bill Eigel, I'm gonna say it right here. Like, the grassroots are being played in Missouri right now, because when you would, like a year ago, when you would listen to the really die-hard conservative grassroots in Missouri, they're criticizing every candidate who gets trial attorney money or this, that, or the other, where they get their money. But who is the candidate that has taken more than 6 times more trial attorney money than any of the other governor candidates right now? And it's Bill Eigel. And he's taken like 40 grand in the anti-school choice lobby money, while he's voted for school choice issues the whole time, but now he won't talk about it except for in terms of reforming the public school system. And he's taking money from, the person who is the most prominent person in opposing school choice in the state. And like, that is just a hard line for me. It's a hard no. But I will tell you, every time Jay Ashcroft gets up and gives a speech, posts something on the internet, and he talks about his issue, you know what's at the top? It's education, because he understands the value of that. So yeah, that's where I am on that one.
Yeah. And the thing that really strikes me about Jay Ashcroft, he's kind of my neighbor. He doesn't live too far from me. We live in the same county. Is that he shows up to vote against local tax increases in elections. And I've seen Jay Ashcroft doing the right thing for limited government when it didn't benefit him. And for example, when we had our Cole County caucus here for the presidential caucuses, before we ever went to the regional or the state caucuses as delegates, the local Republican establishment, which you would think Jay Ashcroft would be like establishment through and through, right? Son of John Ashcroft, right? Secretary of State. You would think, oh, Jay Ashcroft's definitely like an insider's insider, if you will. So like the local establishment in Cole County had their own list of delegates that they were going to send off to the state convention. And it was just kind of like understood that everybody would just vote for them. And these are all like the local party officials, the local mayor, et cetera, et cetera. And Jay Ashcroft's like, what do you mean? This is the people we're going to send? He's like, no, so he created a rebel slate of delegates with like me and like several, a dozen other just regular ass people here in Cole County to send as delegates to the regional and the state convention, which probably made him some enemies amongst the local establishment that he would probably need to be governor. And he didn't care. He did it anyway. I was kind of like, dang, he's a rebel.
And let me point something out too about the slate that he put together. So that slate that he put together was made up of people like you. It was also made up of Bill Eigel supporters that are in some of those anti-school choice camps that I'm talking about. So when you talk about having a diverse slate of people and his ability to reach out to people that he doesn't necessarily agree with on the other side, like, I think that is in the plus column for him, right? So
Secretary of State, who did you vote for?
Well, so that one, I'm not going to necessarily say who I voted for, but I'm going to give you a couple of options. So I would say when you look at the field for Secretary of State, I have some reasons. There are some very good people in there. Don't get me wrong. There are several very good people in there. And if any of your listeners vote for Valentina Gomez and I find out, I will hunt you down and give you a strong lecture.
She's going to win, but okay. So don't vote for her, you say, but anyway. I think she's going to win, but go ahead.
Oh God, listen, please. If she wins, we deserve it.
Yeah.
But no, I would say two of what I would say my top two options are Jamie Corley and Shane Scholler. I think Shane Scholler has the most practical experience in terms of knowing the job and doing it well. I mean, let's be real. There's 8 people running for Secretary of State, and this should be the most boring job in the government, right? Maybe aside from the auditor's office, I don't know. But, it's literally just overseeing and making sure, which is important, making sure that our elections are fair and free of fraud, right? And that fraud is prosecuted. And then also making sure that businesses can operate, licensing and helping people start their LLCs, those sort of things. Like, so it's very much, it's not like this glamorous position, but there are some people that I like in that race that I I think they would be great, but I also don't want them to leave the positions where they are serving right now. And so it's a strategy sort of thing. But I would say Shane Scholar's most practical experience. Jamie Corley, I say, and I know a lot of people in Missouri will not like that I say this because she was involved in the moderate abortion ballot initiative. However, I would say that she's the only one that I've heard talk about who actually talk about the SOS job that actually talks about what they do and the vision for and how important that is. And I'm kind of for shaking things up some too. And I just think she did a good job.
Okay, there you go. That's interesting. And then will you tell us who you voted for treasurer?
Oh, yeah. So Cody Smith is who I voted for treasurer. And I'm a little biased because, you know, he is a friend, but also I will say objectively, he's done a great job as the House Budget Chair. And the fact that the Democrats come out in various articles and interviews and say that there's one thing that we know, that even if we have a surplus, Cody Smith is going to be looking for ways that we can cut spending. That's my kind of guy.
Yeah, okay. So, Camelia, I'm running out of time here. Real quick, can you name as many Liberty candidates in Missouri as you can in less than a minute? Okay, name all of the Liberty candidates that are running across the state of Missouri that you can in less than a minute. Go.
Okay, so obviously Tony Lavasco, Ben Baker's running for re-election. I don't think he has an opponent. Vinnie Clubb, Bryant Wolfen in Southeast Missouri. Sorry, thinking on my feet here.
Keep going.
There are more. I would say Phil Olerking in St. Louis County area. Phil Cristofanelli for Senate. And Lord, you're putting me on the spot. I'm trying to think. Thinking of the parts of the state. Kathy Jaloy. Oh my gosh, cannot forget Kathy Jaloy.
How did you forget Kathy Jaloy?
I know, right? What's up with that?
Come on now.
Okay. Oh, Ryan Johnson. So I think Ryan Johnson in the KC area.
What about Bob? What about Bob Onder?
Oh, Bob Onder. I'm sorry.
Good God. Come on, Camelia.
Doug Ritchie. Doug Ritchie. Okay. Currently working on Doug Ritchie's campaign. So definitely Doug Ritchie.
There you go.
Okay.
That's good. 10 good Liberty statewide Liberty candidates in Missouri. Camelia, you rock. This is your job after all. Okay. Have a good one, Camelia. Thanks so much for your time today. Follow her on @RareCamelia. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you very much. I think we really owe a big thank you to the lovely Rare Camelia for doing such a wonderful job today. All right, let's go get the lovely Daniela Pensack. Was the opening of the Olympics a slight against Christianity? Or was it a bacchanalia? Or was it both? Let's talk to Daniela Pensack when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com on the 4 Liberty Network.
Wake Up America show bonus content looks at vice presidents who became presidents. Today we consider Martin Van Buren. Martin Van Buren said the happiest days of his life were his entrance and exit from the office of president. While political opponents called him Martin Van Ruin, many Americans did not share this sentiment. Despite losing the 1840 election, he received more votes than in his 1836 victory. Van Buren was the first president not born a British subject. His Dutch descent family, the Van Burens, struggled financially. His father, Abraham, was a Jefferson supporter and ran a tavern frequented by politicians. This environment sparked Martin's interest in politics. Despite financial constraints, he studied law independently while working as a clerk. Van Buren's political journey began as a minor county official. He quickly displayed the qualities that would elevate him in American politics. Unfailingly polite and shrewd, he negotiated the political landscape of New York's Democratic-Republican Party, stressing unity and loyalty to Jeffersonian principles. Van Buren transitioned from the New York State Senate to the New York Attorney General's office and then to the U.S. Senate. Disagreeing with President John Quincy Adams, he aligned with Andrew Jackson. In Washington, he expanded his party-building efforts on a national scale. When Jackson became president, he appointed Van Buren as Secretary of State, recognizing his political acumen. Van Buren managed foreign affairs and cultivated political relationships. He built the Democratic Party and became one of Jackson's trusted advisors despite occasional political differences. Van Buren skillfully navigated internal conflicts in Jackson's cabinet, particularly with Vice President John Calhoun. Jackson dismissed much of his cabinet and sent Van Buren to London as U.S. Minister to England. In Jackson's second term, Van Buren served as vice president. Van Buren won the 1836 presidential election by promising to continue Jackson's policies. However, he took office as the booming economy began to slow, leading to the Panic of 1,837 inches and a severe depression. Economic troubles became his primary focus. Van Buren believed in limited federal government and states' rights. Rejecting the Whigs' national bank proposal, he blamed the Depression on powerful interests and proposed an independent treasury. While Congress debated this, economic woes persisted. He managed other divisive issues, such as opposing Texas annexation and easing tensions with Great Britain over the U.S.-Canada border. He favored diplomacy over aggression, earning criticism from those demanding a tougher stance. Van Buren's wife Hannah died, leaving him a widower with 4 sons. He never remarried, but his son's wife, Angelica Singleton Van Buren, served as White House hostess. His sons, especially Abraham and Martin Jr., became his key aides during his presidency. Facing criticism for the economic depression in foreign affairs, his re-election prospects dimmed against Whig candidate William Henry Harrison. The Whigs matched the Democrats' campaign savvy and portrayed Harrison as the log cabin and hard cider candidate, ridiculing Van Buren as unmanly and aristocratic. Despite Van Buren's modest background, the Whigs' portrayal stuck and he lost the election, even failing to carry New York. He served only 1 term, marked by both failures and successes. His presidency should not overshadow his significant contributions to American politics. Van Buren played crucial roles in creating the Democratic Party and the second party system, where Democrats competed with the Whigs. His impact on political development remains significant, leaving a lasting legacy on American politics.
Good morning, Rise in Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Thanks so much for joining us today. Click the like button if you haven't already. If today's the first time you're watching the Wake Up America show, just FYI, this show is 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. So come back and join us. Tomorrow especially is going to be a great day because it's Freedom Family Friday. And I always love to bring my smoking hot redheaded libertarian wife, Stephanie, on the show. Well, she's been pregnant up until last week, and we had our very first baby, little Hazel Rose Peterson. And she has got beautiful red hair, just like her mother. Orange as it can be. Orange baby good. And my brother, Justin Peterson, as well. So no longer just 3 Petersons, you get 4 Petersons tomorrow. So make sure you come back tomorrow. It's going to be a great show. You don't want to miss it. Make us a regular part of starting your day off right. Okay, so is everybody ready to be offended? Yes? No? Maybe so? Thursdays, we invite Daniela Pensack on the show, and she's going to cover the Olympics. Was it a Bacchanal or was it a crime against Christianity? Joining us live right now is Daniela Pensack, who I believe is a Christian. Daniela, good morning. How are you doing? What a way to get introduced.
Good morning, Austin. I know, right? Yes, I do. I am a Christian, and I was born as a Christian. I still am a Christian, but yeah, the Olympics was quite wacky. I don't know if you saw all the clips, Austin, but whoever's in charge of that has made sure to scrub a lot of the clips off the internet. So if you're looking for the part where Bacchus or Dionysus shows up, it's very difficult to find. I found like maybe a couple on TikTok, so it's very interesting that they're trying to scrub that completely.
So the thing is, Danielle, this is kind of your bag, right? This is like Dionysus and
Right.
ancient Greek and Roman gods and goddesses. You are unusually, I guess, knowledgeable about this particular part of global history and Western civilization.
Sure.
So I'm just curious, when you saw the Olympics, did you see the reaction to it first of people being offended, or did you see it by itself?
I did. I mean, a lot of people did get offended, interestingly, a lot in the United States, but also in France as well. Like the French Bishops' Conference said that it was purposeful derision and it was a mockery of Christianity. Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, also came out, said it was a mockery of Christianity, and a lot of people are upset about it. And for those that aren't familiar, exactly what happened, I had the Last Supper scene with a very large woman as a Christ in the depiction, and I thought that was a little disrespectful. But it was meant to be a runway, so people were walking on the runway in front of that as a fashion show. And when I first watched it, actually, Austin, I'm pretty liberal and really lax when it comes to like using religious elements in art or performance. I mean, so you could interpret it as sacrilegious, but I think art is meant to be avant-garde and push like boundaries, and I usually don't take issue with it. And when I initially watched it, I actually thought to myself, well, I mean, it's France and it's a fashion show, and it was like a 2-hour fashion show apparently. So like I personally had no issue with it. Later on, 2 hours in, they brought a man all in blue. I'm sure a lot of people saw the images online, and like a dinner plate, and that was supposed to represent Bacchus, and he came on top of the
Who is
Last Supper
Bacchus?
table.
Who is Bacchus?
So Bacchus or Dionysus, both the same deity, is the deity of drunkenness, revelry. He's a wine god, the Greek wine god, um, simply put. And so historically, he has been equated with Jesus Christ or Jesus imagery. And so it's actually very interesting to see this conversation, the Jesus Bacchus question, being discussed in the mainstream, because this has been a concept in for like mythology freaks and historians for quite a while. It was kind of a niche topic, so it's interesting to see it be brought in the mainstream at the surface level. But the people behind this performance said that this was supposed to be Bacchanal all along, and it wasn't the Last Supper. And I think that particularly is a bit disrespectful that they're trying to lie to us about that, because like it clearly was the Last Supper scene. You know, just say what it was, and they're trying to hide that or avoid that by saying that it was a Bacchanalia.
Well, but there was a painting from the 1800s of the gods of Olympus who are dining. Let me see if I can find it. Gods of Olympus dining painting. Let's see if I can pull it up on the screen for everybody to see. And it looks very similar to the Last Supper. It looks almost exactly the same. I mean, could some of this be the confusion from the fact that Christianity has pagan roots?
Yes, actually, it could. And it could be that. I have my suspicions. I think it was meant to be the Last Supper. I think also that was why they're trying to bring like transgender people in there. I mean, that's my own theory. They're trying to kind of bring into question the I guess like the integrity of Christianity. But that's me speaking as a Christian, Austin. You know, I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist on this front. But you are correct. There is a lot of pagan roots in Christian imagery and even in Christian traditions, like the communion and the breaking of the bread, drinking of the wine. And maybe some Christians listening in on this show won't enjoy what I'm saying, but I mean, maybe they think what I'm saying is a bit too syncretic. But I think it's true. There is a lot of that imagery that did carry on into Christianity later on. And so, and like I'd mentioned, that is why this equation between Christ and Bacchus or Dionysus has been like going through the centuries for quite some time, and people are questioning it. Like, for instance, like Dionysus was born of a virgin and of a deity. Dionysus resurrected just like Christ. There's a lot of that wine imagery going on. So it is interesting to see this conversation being brought into light here for everyone to discuss.
No, I care about what's true, not what confirms my biases. But I think that, you know, despite whether this is, you know, let's give Christians the benefit of the doubt here and suggest that in France that this was meant to specifically, was meant to offend Christians. They're not brave for attacking Christians. Right? They act as if they're so brave by doing something like this. But meanwhile, you were probably still in, just starting college or maybe even in high school, maybe even middle school. Do you remember the story of Je suis Charlie Hebdo and the terrorist attacks on the cartoonists?
Right. I do.
Right?
Yeah.
In France, this is the situation, the story where these cartoonists were painting the prophet Muhammad, which is, punishable by death. Those artists were brave. You're not brave for attacking Christians because Christians aren't going to murder you for mocking the Last Supper. But the left has always only attacked people that they could get away with because they really are cowards, are they not?
That is absolutely right, Austin, and I'm so glad you brought that up. I didn't even think of that aspect of the story, especially in France, because they have quite the Muslim population over there. But that's absolutely true. Christianity, and because it is a civilized, this is what I think about Christianity, is that it is a civilizing force, or it has been a civilizing factor or force in the development of Western civilization. Because Christians would never do that. They'd never retaliate in that way like Muslims would, and that's why I have a great issue with Islam and the Muslim religion, particularly. But that's beside the point. But it isn't brave. And that is also why, however, what I do see happening is that on the right, you are seeing Christian conservatives trying to retaliate. And I also think that's a big part of why they are making this a bigger deal than it is. Because, like, again, when I watched it, I thought to myself, well, it's just a runway. I understand the introduction of like transgenders or perceived transgenders in the performance can be questionable, but it is kind of like overblown. And I think Christians, conservative Christians particularly, are trying to retaliate, although not in the way that Muslims will, obviously, and that never will happen.
No.
Yeah, but they are trying to have that conversation, try to stir some controversy.
Now, another problem, Daniela, that we had with this, and I'm going to try and avoid it to some extent. I mean, unfortunately, there's like some pornography that's trying to flash up on the screen because it's X, so I'm just going to have to take that away.
Sure.
There was an incident where one of the people who were there at, let's call it the Last Supper, one of the gentlemen who was there had his genitals exposed while he was hanging over a child. Did you see this as well? This picture of a...
Oh man, I did not see that part.
Okay, so I can't obviously
I
show
wouldn't be
that.
surprised. I would not be surprised, honestly.
I cannot actually show that, but there was a man who had a costume failure, if you will.
Gotcha.
And it was hanging out over the head of a young child. So since you didn't see it, I guess there really isn't a lot of analysis that can be done on it. But it does, I mean, it is France and they have different morals and cultures and things here. But I mean, it does just go to show how different we are from Europe and how completely different the United States' morals and norms and culture is from France. I mean, has France fallen? I mean, is Europe?
Yes.
Would you write Europe off entirely?
I wouldn't write off Europe entirely. I mean, France, perhaps. I just personally don't like the French and French culture. But it's a little too lax. If it was a wardrobe malfunction, truly, I don't think. I mean, you could attribute that to any of the cultural elements. But I don't know how much I'm willing to trust what they say anymore, right? But I mean, with the introduction or the inclusion of certain populations that aren't compatible with the European culture, specifically the culture they're moving in, like French culture or German culture. You've seen that happen also under Merkel. Clearly there's going to be like derision of that culture over time. And you see this clearly with France, with the previous terrorist attacks that happened in the last like 10 years or so. And just like the overall population, I'm sure you've seen, Austin, many videos of people, particularly of the right-wing bent, but they'll go and they'll film and they say this isn't Paris anymore, right? Because of the demographic change. But I'm not so looking into the demographic change specifically as I am the cultural and religious change, and I think that is a big component of what's happening over there. French culture has always been, I think, for the most part, philosophically speaking, also a little bit lax. And that's probably also why I'm not particularly a fan of the French myself. But it is unfortunate to see what's happening in France and Germany and Great Britain. You're probably familiar or have heard of the attacks that happened in Great Britain just a few days ago, which is like very sad with those 3 girls dying because of the type of people they're importing into their countries.
One last question and topic before we let you go here, Daniela. You sent me another video of the event where Kamala Harris was preceded by a performance in Atlanta, Georgia, of Megan Thee Stallion. And here I have the video pulled up right now. Let's take a look at it. It's 15 seconds long. So shortly after Kamala began her speech, Attendees of her rally began to leave. She hadn't even been talking for 15 minutes before people started exiting. Hard awakening incoming. So people left after she started speaking pretty soon.
Yeah.
I thought that she was girl boss. Mama's for Kamala, or Kamala's
I know,
my
right?
mama. I mean, the Democrats are acting like she's the second coming of Jesus Christ. They should have put her on the Last Supper there. But maybe there's not as much excitement for Kamala as the Democrats would have us believe from all of the programming that we've been seeing the last week.
I have seen so many people on both sides of the aisle, leftists and conservatives, say that she's so uncharismatic and unlikable. And all of a sudden, the tables turned because it's such a big cope. Seeing the transition from Biden to Kamala has been a fever dream, because it's like the entire time people were trying to cope with Biden, the incumbent running for president, and all of a sudden overnight now they care about age and they care about Trump's age, and they think Kamala's a great, charismatic individual. And the memes that have been pushed to promote her are just so cringe, Austin. It's hard for, and the brat versus weird meme is also very, I have so many words I can say to describe it, but yeah, but like the Megan Thee Stallion, clearly a large portion of not just her following, but I think people in general, they're not going to go for the politics. They're just going to go for entertainment. And it's funny to see the Democrats try to lure people in with Megan Thee Stallion or any performance artist like that, and then completely leave as soon as it's over. It's hilarious. And I don't know how much sticking power Kamala has. She's so uncharismatic. It's hard for me to believe it, but they're just going to push it regardless, because she's going to be the nominee. So it's just unfortunate to see that. It's quite scary, actually. It kind of reminds me of COVID, where people on the left are trying to convince themselves of something of what isn't. And it's happening again with Kamala. It's kind of reminding me of those vibes, if you know what I mean.
Very much so. Daniela, great interview today. Great conversation and topics. Is there anything else that you want to share or plug before we let you go today?
If you do like what I talked about with the Bacchanal, and specifically follow my Substack, I do write about interesting things like that. It's called the Dialectic Project, or you can just find it under my name, Daniela Pensac, on Substack. Or if you want more condensed versions of that, follow me on Twitter at Pensac Daniela.
There we go. Pensac Daniela over on Twitter. Daniela, thanks so very much. We're very excited for you to have your own show on the For Liberty Network. Yes. It's going to be so exciting. More details of that coming soon. Thanks for getting up so early here on a Thursday morning. We'll see you soon.
See you soon, Austin. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's Daniela Pensac. Let's give her a round of applause. Great show today. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget, as you exit through the Grift Shop, forlibertyshop.com. The White Dudes for Donald Trump shirt has gone so viral from leftists that are triggered over it that I'm getting requests now from people for a White Girls for Donald Trump shirt. Someone else wanted a Black Dudes for Donald Trump shirt. I'm going to be going home today making so many cool identity politics shirts. I'm going to do Jew Dudes for Donald Trump and Jew Girls for Donald Trump. Black Girls for Donald Trump. I mean, gay dudes for Donald Trump. You want to see a gay dudes for Donald Trump shirt? I'm going to make them all today. Gay dudes for Donald Trump. All right. So make sure that as you exit, get yourself something real nice at the Wake Up America Show shop, the forlibertyshop.com. Tomorrow, Baby Hazel comes on the show. You don't want to miss it. Freedom Family Friday. Stephanie, Austin, Justin, Baby Hazel makes her first appearance. We'll see you guys here tomorrow on the Wake Up America Show on the For Liberty Network. Bye, guys.
Expanse of time, a year might seem like a mere moment, but oh, what a year it's been. In September 2022, Austin and Stephanie Peterson embarked on a journey to wake up America. They began humbly, with just 20 souls tuning in, learning, listening, and though challenges arose, like the looming shadow of YouTube demonetization, their spirit never waned. And now, thanks to you, thousands rise with the sun to join them, to listen, to engage, to be a part of a community. So here's to you, and to Wake Up America, for memories shared, for friends made, for the journey ahead, and for never, ever forgetting to rise and freedom. Happy anniversary.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Is the outdoor of your home about as exciting as a library? Then spice it up and unbore your space with our custom metal signs. Crafted with love and a bit of libertarian magic, you can customize your own metal sign at ap4libertyshop.com. So head to ap4libertyshop.com, customize your own metal sign today.
Welcome to a world of vocal discovery at Peterson Voice Studio. I'm Justin Peterson, here to guide your musical journey. Envision a place where your voice reaches new heights, where every note tells a story. We embrace all singers, from the enthusiastic shower vocalists to aspiring stars, ensuring each voice finds its unique rhythm and tone. Are you ready to elevate your voice? Visit PetersonVoiceStudio.com and sign up for remote lessons tailored just for you. Let's begin this melodious journey together.
Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP4Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks, just pure patriotic pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at ap4libertyshop.com.